Joel, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very good.
You good?
Yes.
I'll be honest, this is a bit weird. I'm not going to lie. Because we've been friends for how many years? About 15 years? Maybe longer?
Yeah, it's a long time now. So what we're saying, well, I would say 15. No, I would say longer than that.
Longer than that. You're right. We were 15.
I reckon we were
16.
14.
14?
Yeah, I don't think
around
we
that age.
Yeah, 14.
And I actually remember the first time I met you. You may remember was at school. I just come from another school, coming into year 10. I didn't really know my surroundings. I was looking for friends, and I think I related to you initially because you were quite reserved and you kind of kept yourself to yourself and you only spoke when there was a need to speak. And at the time, perhaps I didn't know why I was attracted to it. But now when I look back, I think it's because I'm very similar. I'm quite reserved. I'm kind of laid back.
Okay.
Only interact when I have to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you now, looking back after all these years, why we connected?
Yeah, I mean, I what's the word? I suppose I like to connect with everyone.
Yeah.
Speak to everyone. But at the same time, I wasn't a loud type of kind of person. I just thought, okay, well, if you want to take part in something and we got something going like football, I remember.
Yeah, we played football quite a lot.
Yeah, and that was the reason. So it's like sharing like a common interest. And most of my friends at the time know that actually, if you want to do something or if you want to start getting to know someone or becoming friends, invite them to an activity where you share like a common interest. So I was thinking, okay, well, football, if you want to come to it and then see how it goes. So initially it was just an invitation in that sense because, okay, this person wants to, interact or engage. Obviously, I don't have that vocabulary at the time.
Yeah, no, I remember that was your first invitation. You said, come and play football. And it was a Saturday, and we ended up playing every weekend, and that's how the friendship kind of grew. And now we've known each other for over 15 years, 16, 17 years now. And I've been fortunate enough to see your progression, your personal progression throughout the years. And certainly now you're more involved with mental health, Our Minds Matter, which you founded very recently. But I want to kind of go back a little bit just before this all started, because your journey, I feel, started well before this. And you may remember fondly one of your first jobs. You were studying at the time, and you also had a job in, I can't remember the name of the place. It was a sales job, was it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was financial. Sort of
financial sales.
Selling household products to people on credit. Well, it's not even credit; it was just on.
It's a hire purchase company, wasn't it?
Yeah,
let's call it a hire purchase company.
Yeah,
and from our conversations, I know that particular position did a lot for you because you paid huge attention to detail. Why is being meticulous so important for you?
I think, well, it was the first kind of like real full-time job I ever had. And, I was quite young, 16, joined the company. So there was no pressure for me to be the best. But at the same time, I wanted to go in and say, well, what can I really contribute? Everyone got their own role.
Yeah.
I'm young. Okay, what do I really do? Is my best role just doing something simple like filing? It started off with filing. Actually, I started off with doing the stockroom. The manager sent me to the stockroom so many times.
Yeah.
Just because on that one occasion, I did an okay job. She thought I'd done a fantastic job, but I thought I did okay. All I did was just put everything in order. A simple thing like that. But she was like, every time I can hear the stockroom calling you, and they can hear the stockroom. And what happened was, during that period, is that the other colleagues, they started giving feedback. They quite liked it because the stockroom was just a mess with boxes and everything was everywhere, so untidy. It was very unclean. So we cleaned the whole stockroom. So I wasn't even trusted on the shop floor. It was a stockroom. It was just literally spending hours and hours moving the boxes away, tidying up the cables, labeling them, cleaning behind the boxes. So the whole idea of the main point was, so the manager could come in and she could do a stock check within that stockroom, say from within an hour, within 5 minutes. She can see everything, boom, 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 everything was done.
Yeah. And from the outside, that kind of job would seem quite a regular job.
Yeah, well,
But I think the way you attacked it was quite unique because you didn't just see it as a job, you saw it as a much deeper process. And you say that you started in the stockroom, but I think quite quickly you progressed and you made it onto the shop floor, and you were even an assistant manager and then a manager for a while, right?
yeah, I mean, the growth for that period from stockroom, because then you start paying attention to the shop floor now, whether it's about the price tags and, how's your, because it's, the people who are coming to the stop, and it needs to be a sort of a reflection on you and who done this, because every time people gave, but I think feedback is important. When they feedback, so not financial fear, motivation, but just feedback and appreciation.
Yeah.
This motivate a bit more. But it's almost like you want people to come in and sit in your place, knowing that this place is clean, it's smelling nice, and therefore, if you get people into the shop a bit more in your workplace, they're willing to spend more time with you in that sense. So there's almost like, okay, when you're paying attention to those kind of small little details, like straightening up the price tags, because some of them are scruffy and things like that. So I said, okay, well, let's order some new ones. It's not more expensive. I was the manager, but I was using initiative. My manager liked that in that sense.
And it's great that you touched on that, because certainly from my experience of when I was employed for 12 years, a lot of people did not pay attention to the details. And it's often the details that are the most important, because if you don't have the details of the smaller things in place, then you certainly can't kind of progress on the bigger things, right? You worked with lots of people in your time. What's been your experience of working with colleagues? Did they attack tasks like you did, or did you find that they were kind of lacking that basic kind of care?
Yeah, there was variation. I think some of them were, just turning up, going home. Fair enough, that's what you're going to do. But there's one or two that stood out, And I remember at the time, the first experience, particularly my colleague, who's now a friend, and this someone I met at 16, and she was in her late 50s at the time.
Right.
But she was basically, when you have an issue, customer inquiry, you follow it to the end. And everyone else kept leaving it and passing on the buck.
Yeah.
But she taught me, because I did the same. I made the same mistake. I just take someone else's responsibility. It's not even my customer. But then she pulled me up on it. She didn't even manage it. She just passed on that bit of advice. She goes, you have a problem, you follow it to the end. It's one of the key advices of paying attention to detail that I've taken it everywhere. And now, she's now one of my sort of mentors in that sense. She's stuck with me.
She's a good friend even until now.
Yeah, this is 15, what was that, 18 years ago, 16 years ago.
Well, there is another side to employment as well, where people say, well, look, it's just a way of earning a pay packet. Why should I go beyond the norm and do something that's perhaps not expected of me? What's the difference of doing something by the book, and what's the difference of going the extra mile? What does it do for you?
Well, I think the book is there to give you some sort of boundaries and where to go with it. But I think going the extra mile, he basically allows you to, be a bit more adventurous, use your own sort of ideas, be creative. It gives you a sense of confidence. It gives you a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
So if you've got a promotional campaign at work or something happening, is that actually what can you do to maximize your effort in that sense? Because if it pulls off and it works together, it's actually a really, really good feeling in that sense. Okay, whether you're trying to, say, get in more, increase your, let's just say, revenue, or even just improve certain feedback or get people more engaged, you have to be a bit more innovative, a bit more creative. But what it does, I think, for me, psychologically, because I've studied this area, cognitively, right, our brains expand when we be a bit more creative.
Right.
Okay. So when you learn a new skill, when you expand on a new skill, new sort of what they call synapses occur in the brain. So the brain matter sort of grows.
Sure.
But if you lose the skill and if you stop doing that, it reduces size.
Okay.
So, yeah, psychologically, biologically, and socially, and even with your people, it's important on all levels. It's not just one area that you're going to benefit from. But because I know that now, I'm thinking, I've seen the experience. Actually, this is why I encourage all the people all the time. Do your best. maximized because you're benefiting on so many different levels.
Even if you're employed, you have to kind of
Unemployed.
go beyond the norm. No, sorry, even if you are employed,
Yeah.
you shouldn't treat it as just a means for a pay packet. You should treat it as, this is my kind of everything. And I guess if you think about it like that, that's the only way you'll put in 100% effort.
Yeah, because it's all about where you want to go. Because if you really want to go somewhere, particularly, you have to think to yourself, well, this pay pack is not going to be forever, even if you're thinking like that. And if you really want to go to that next level, then you have to basically show it to yourself that actually, yeah, I can do it, I'm capable.
Yeah.
Because when you ever get there, your goal, whatever, then you would have enough experience, adding to your, I don't know, say portfolio or to your working background in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to just, turn up in a mundane sort of way, relaxed, I don't think you go home feeling just a bit unfulfilled.
Very average.
Yeah, and and then your work becomes, and then you feel average. I think, okay. So when I was working in that time in the hire purchase company and some of the other organizations, they were like thinking, I used to go home on a boost. Very, very, very happy and very, come in the next day very motivated. And
was that because of the effort that you put into your job? Is that why you felt motivated?
Yeah, I mean, it's an example of moving the whole washing machines and hoovering behind the washing machines. And people are saying, what are you doing that for? No one's going to look around there. But in your head, when you go into that place, that actually, this whole place is spotless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can stand in this place and talk to that customer with confidence.
And I guess you would do the same thing at home.
Yes.
You treat your workplace as you do your home. And that's the key, right?
Yeah, you spend more hours in your workplace than you do in your home, and especially at long intervals. So why not basically try to make it feel like home in that sense? If you're on that comfort zone, then you're more likely to, I suppose, be a bit more confident, be a bit more relaxed, and be a bit. And I think the person that you're dealing with you'll come across more genuine, more connected, and believe in me, the results are quicker. Rather than you trying to push this hard sale, they know that you're here for a reason.
Because you're being genuine about everything.
So you don't need to put in the extra effort. And then you see the other colleagues, they put in so much effort right towards the end. I'm thinking, if we did that bit of, careful planning and just a bit more thought and an effort in the big place, this part of the process is so much easier. They say to me, how did you get that many sales and stuff? I'm like, the work was done before.
No, it's interesting. So it's not so much about the running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah.
It's about what you do in the time that you're busy, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on the details. Yeah.
And then customers come to you specifically. They're phoning you up, can I speak to you? Can you that? And you say to them, well, I can only, making promises is important. You sometimes say, no, I can't do that. And you tell them why. But they respect you just for being honest, paying attention to the promise. A lot of people say, yeah, we can do that. We can give you the refund within 30 days. But can you really? I know the policy says that, but can you just double check? You can say to me, it's 30 days, but we can do it within 2 weeks, etc., etc.
Okay.
So
yeah, no, it's very interesting, and you certainly did well in that role. But I know there came a point for you where you wanted to venture into other things, and you decided upon studying psychology and going to university. That must have been quite difficult at the time because you'd gone to school, you landed yourself a job, which you were fairly happy in, you seem to be doing well, progressing. Then to go back to education after a job, that must have been quite unusual.
Yes, yeah.
How did you handle that?
Well,
because it's slightly unconventional, the route that you took.
Yeah, luckily I made that decision of doing an apprenticeship and working. So basically it was studying at the same time as I was working. But the working was like doing compiling a portfolio on your work experience, case studies, etc., evidence. And that took about 3 years. And even in the workplace, people are saying, what are you doing? Some were encouraging, of course, but others were really, really pushing your commitment. Do you really want to do this? Have you got time for this? Let's go out for this. Let's go out for a break. Let's go and do this. Let's go and do that. But no, I need to finish this. We have to go. I've got to finish it.
Yeah.
I could basically chill out in the workplace, but I just thought I need to finish this case study. Let me just get to the bottom of the page, whatever. And then, making that switch to study psychology. it was hard in the first year because I'm sitting there with students. First of all, the interview, I had to basically give myself an interview to the university about why I should join their course and why they should accept me in the first place. There's a
Okay.
whole big queue, people signing up. There's me in my small little queue. I was the only person in that queue doing interviews. It felt like I was on trial. And that was
I
the
can
first
imagine,
journey.
yeah. If you can try and cast your mind back to that particular moment, you're waiting in the queue and you have to kind of prove yourself to the university to give you a place. But deep down, I think maybe you knew you did have the qualifications to go back to studying. You knew that yourself, I guess, right? What did you feel at the time being questioned again?
It was hard because it's frustrating because I thought to myself, like, I think I've got more motivation than most people in this sense. And, you know, I should be in the other queue and not this queue. And it felt like basically this was like a police interview. Like, why should we let you through our door? It wasn't like, please come along, just tell us why. But I think, you know, the way to look at it is like afterwards is I just thought, well, here's my opportunity to practice and to reflect and to reinforce. Like, actually, this is the reason why I'm doing it, and I'm here for real strong. You know, other people were just getting through, like, you know, here you go, just come in, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you need to sit down and explain yourself why we should allow you even to come to a course, why you worth in that sense.
Is that because you'd taken that break?
Different route, yes.
School, job, and now back to education.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the stumbling block for them.
Yeah, like I said, I'd done my apprenticeship, which gave me the access qualification to get in. So it wasn't the typical A levels, but it was equivalent to A levels, and they were obviously a bit just unfamiliar with this.
Yeah.
But they were very much okay. We can understand, and this was now what 12 years ago.
Okay. So why is psychology in particular? What attracted you to that subject? Because you could have chosen any subject, I guess.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm really good. I just thought I was really good with people. You know, in the workplace, I had a lot of customers. We come customers from a range of clients, and then it's more like, okay, I've always been interested in, okay, why do certain things work out the way they are, and why do people do things? So that's where it originally sort of coming from sort of like personal experience with certain things that have happened. With friends, family, colleagues, neighbours, where we live.
Yeah.
But also, there was something missing when I was doing the work after I finished the MVQ. Is I wanted a bit more. Okay. What is about people that, you know, us to change our behaviours, or why do we do things the way we do?
Okay. And so you've been accepted on the course. You started the course. Did you expect it to go the way it did? Did anything come up that surprised you about the course, or was it kind of very easy in the first 2 years?
No, it was difficult. I mean, I struggled, if I'm honest, because in the first year, there's me with the other students, and they were getting everything very quickly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, how do you even remember that? How do you recall that? How do you write the essay? How do you, you know, how does that, how is, because they were just saying, yeah, it's easy, just, you know, just look at the slides, and they're taking it in. So they were absorbing information. I was still struggling.
Right.
So I went to, like, you know, what they call English tutors, and they helped me with my essay. I gave them and they were saying, what are you doing all this for? You know, I have to make the extra effort. Taking my thing, I really got poor grades in the first year. And I really just took it's like a reflection upon myself. Like, actually, you know, why is my work so poor? You know, my commitment is there. I want to say the right things. I've studied the right things. Hey, don't get me wrong. I didn't look at everything, but I knew I was putting more effort than my peers,
than anyone else,
and that's what was strange and challenging.
So, it's interesting what you said there. You said you were putting in more effort than all of your peers. Do you think?
But I was getting worse results.
But do you think in the long run it paid off?
Oh, yes. Because in the second and a half years, in the second year, in the second half, the grades really picked up. Yeah, what's the word? Suddenly my peers were asking me for advice about how to do it. And I still didn't know. I said, like, well, you need to go to this English show, really good. You know, so I was still trying to share my experience. But that's when I realised.
Why do you think they were coming to you after 2 years?
I think they just thought, like, how did you improve, and how are you getting more higher grades for this essay, and how are you getting better marks in the exams now? And you know, so I was getting ready but because of the effort and the techniques, how do you stay committed? How do you stick to a timetable?
It's interesting. So I'm going to try and relate this to the workplace. Like, you may have come across situations where there are certain people in the workplace, like yourself perhaps, who were naturally gifted. And because of that, other people warm to them and kind of cling on to them and go to them for advice, just like your peers went to you for advice when you're at university. Do you think it's possible to be a leader without necessarily having the title of a leader?
Oh yeah, I mean, what's the word? I don't know. I mean, we both watch football,
We do.
and James Milner's not really a captain, but you could tell there's a leader on the pitch when Henderson's on the
For
pitch.
Liverpool, we're talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
So you see him example. That's loads of examples. I think it's about you become a role model rather than a leader. That's the way to look, because people look at you and they're thinking, actually, you seem to approach things in a way which they feel comfortable, they feel safe, so they feel confident in, I suppose, trying to imitate you, imitate your behaviours.
So for someone listening or watching right now thinking, what's the point of putting in the extra effort? I don't want people to come to me for advice at work. I've got enough to kind of handle myself. I've got enough on my plate. What would you say to that if they don't want responsibility, if they want to kind of keep themselves to themselves?
It's hard because I think in one sense you've got the, I don't know, say, it's a compliment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you don't want it to work against you.
Absolutely.
I think you have to think, okay, well, you'd find the balance in that sense. Okay, well, decide about, okay, well, how are you going to help this person and how much time you're going to give that person, and basically set some expectations so they're not abusing that power or that time, I should say, and you're not abusing their the whole non-relationship, because you're teamwork. So it's about setting the expectations. If you're going to help them, I think basically say, okay, I can help you around this time, between this hour, and then set that time for them, give them that quality time. Don't just help them ad hoc every time, because that could be unhealthy. So sometimes I say to people, like when the charity, people try to meet all sorts of hours and pick up your phone, and I can't. I mean, we manage, it's like 70 volunteers. I can't pick up my phone every midnight
all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I said, well, every Friday there's a set time for you. I'm here. Come and have a chat, and we'll chat together as a committee. Because although your heart's in the right place and you really want to do well, but you have to kind of keep yourself safe in that sense to keep providing consistency. So having sort of structure and a timetable, an opportunity, like what they call a window.
Yeah.
And I learned that off others. Supervisors gave windows, like everyone used to complain, why do supervisors don't open all their office hours and only give 2 hours? But I realized why, actually. It's actually just to be more effective in the long term.
Yeah. And you mentioned the charity again there, and we are going to talk about that very soon. But there was also a lot happening for you after university and just before you started the charity. Now, this is something that's impressed me the most about you in the years that I've known you. And to this day, I don't know how you handle it, but you have an ability to take on 3 or 4 jobs all at one time, juggle them all, manage them well, yet still have the time to focus on building a charity. What were the stresses that you went through during that time when you were handling so many jobs just before the charity started? How did you handle that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to, because I was studying and doing my apprenticeship at the same time, working and studying, that built me the skill. University was working and studying, so I was managing two in that sense.
Yeah.
And then the pressures were mainly, it's about, I suppose, keeping everyone happy.
Right.
So people management, because every manager has got expectations of you, and they won't have time for your other job or anything like that, because you're your time for them, and you gotta somehow accept that and respect that in that sense.
Sure.
In your world, I wish they could respect that, but actually the reality is like they're just interested in you. They're not interested in other companies, because this is how it normally works. I think managing that, expectations of managers, me giving time to them, me giving them value, me giving them that hard work, that was the pressure to keep it consistent for a long time in that sense. So time management, big thing, keeping your diary up to date.
So you had a physical diary, or was it a mental diary that you had?
What's the word? Initially, it was started off as a mental diary.
Okay.
And then it was way too busy. And then you start keeping an online diary. Google calendars.
And are these diaries for your different jobs? So how did you use the diary? What was in the diary?
Oh, I used one central diary for me. I did keep my diary updated in the certain jobs,
Okay.
but I had one central diary for me, which was like mainly my university one, because that's with me all the time. The research never lost focus.
Okay.
And so managing that, especially around, say, time around appointments and meeting people and stuff like, because you don't let people down. But keeping promises to people, that was important. When people say, can we meet you? Can we have a chat? We need to do this, we need to do that. I said to them, okay, when do you need this by? Deadlines, working towards deadlines, very important. So people, time, and working to deadlines were the three kind of pressures. And having time for social activities, That's just, you have to look after your health in that sense. Those are the big pressures.
Okay.
But performance I knew was going to be there. I think it just makes you sharper. You're doing 3-4 jobs. It makes your brain a lot more sharper in that sense. And but the charity, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure we'll come on to it. These things just help me shape the charity because when you're managing time, people, this is what it's about in that sense.
Yeah. So, you certainly had the experience before the charity of managing people. That always came quite naturally to you.
Yeah, and being made homeless in that point was just before that whole period.
Yeah.
In that sense, when when the landlord pushed up the rent, we couldn't afford it. So we're practically made homeless, and that's what's happening.
And I remember that was quite. So at the time, I was going through something quite personal in my life. I remember. You probably remember.
No, yeah,
when you told me about that you're having to leave your house and that you were made homeless. I remember it was a very kind of poignant moment for you. And I guess we'll talk about that in part 2.
Yes. Okay.
Cool. All right. Welcome back to part 2. Just had time to make some tea.
Yes, I got my mug here, so don't worry. It's in the background.
Feeling nice and refreshed. At the end of part 1, you touched on your period when you became homeless. You and your family became homeless. And I remember the phone call that I got from you. And at the time, I was going through quite a tough patch in my life as well, which you probably remember.
Yeah.
And I didn't have much time to speak to you at the time, I remember, what you were going through. We only kind of caught up about it much later on. And of course, being homeless is not something you'd wish on anyone, but you experienced it. What are your memories of that time? I know it's a few years ago. What were your initial... what was your reaction? What did you go through in your mind?
Well, I just thought, here we go again. It's not the first time. But it happens when, if your landlord puts up rent, or I think it was selling the property at the time, you have to move very quickly. And the thing is, like, a lot of residents or a lot of people who rent, in that market are never really that safe. That's why I can see why, there's a lot of people that actually say we need to do more to protect people who are renting, so they're not evicted the next month. But it's the whole thing of going through a process, because it wasn't just like being made homeless. You're going through the courts, you're filling in forms, you're being threatened with bailiffs and evictions and the pressure, and so in the mind I was thinking, okay, there's bit I have to manage my family's health, because some of them are not unwell, especially my parents, and I'm thinking that brings on a lot of pressure. At the same time, I was working. I was doing my PhD. So do I let the PhD go? Is this it? What was the point of doing all that work? So you question a lot about your decisions.
Yeah, and I can imagine it must have put a lot of strain on your other things that you're doing, your jobs, like you said, your PhD. Did it ever come to a point, or did you ever come close to saying, okay, PhD maybe not for now, or I have to drop a job or something?
Yeah, the actual PhD, I thought, shall we sacrifice in that sense, because I just thought we need to do more work. We have to do more work than this, and the PhD might be taking up that time because it's not paying enough.
When you say do more work, do you mean so you can
gain more,
pay the rent for the new place, or
okay, just to keep up with the rent, with the pace,
right? And the PhD perhaps could have come in the way of that.
Yeah, and I just thought, well, how much more can I work? So that's why working those 4 jobs.
You already had 4 jobs.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if I get rid of that one, the PhD, I could take a 5th one on to make up for the other last one. But I just thought that would be very unsustainable.
Did the 5th job ever cross your mind?
I thought about it, and I spoke to another friend about it, and he said, like, don't give up your goal. This is your thing.
Which is your PhD.
Yeah, because you're taken all the risks to do this natural progression to your goal, and your PhD was the one.
So then, what ultimately made you decide to carry on the PhD and not drop it for a job?
Talking to people.
Yeah.
I just reflected. I just thought, well, even if I take this job on, and even if I need to do this stuff, where would I really want to be in the future? Why did I really... So I questioned myself a lot about why did I make those decisions? Literally about why did I leave to go into education? Why did I put myself through all of that?
Yeah.
There must be a purpose. There must be a reason. And why do I really want to do the PhD in the first place? Where do I see myself in the future? Even if I was to do that job, that's fine. We've managed to save the rent, whatever, bills for another year. What in 2 years? So I really thought about my goals in that sense.
Right.
And where do I really want to end up? And in terms of priorities, where was the PhD fitting in part of all the jobs? The jobs were just there as a means to an end. Yes, I was getting experience, but what was the research doing in that sense? And could I do the research in a time where I'm not working? So I'm making time for it in that sense.
Because a PhD in itself is a job, right? The amount of time, effort. It's not just university trips, it's working at home a lot of the time for yourself. So let's think of the PhD then as a 5th job. Let's just say it was a 5th job because it took a lot of your time. How did you manage your 4 jobs and the PhD together? Were there any special things that you put in place to allow you to come home and then do your PhD?
Yeah. A sense of humor. You make a lot of jokes.
With yourself?
With yourself, with your friends, with your family, with your supervisors. Right. Humor is absolutely number 1 stress buster. If someone who does not have humor, doesn't know how to laugh, how to make jokes, you become very unhealthy. So identifying that, how to relieve stress, because it's almost like they're valves, isn't it? When you have a boiler, you have valves in it to let off the steam, let off the pressure. If it doesn't, everything can collapse. So learning how to make light-hearted of the situations with people.
Okay.
Being honest with people, very important, because there's no need to hide things. There's no need to tell people, and there's no need to say to people that you're not doing all these things. Yeah. It's good to tell your supervisor you're doing all these things. So sharing.
So letting your supervisor know that you've got 4 other jobs.
Yeah, I mean, they're all part-time. He knows that actually, yes, it's happened to other students.
Right.
So it gives you a bit of reassurance. But at the same time, he's managing expectations. He knows that you're not going to be in every day, but he knows you're committed in that sense. So having that, safe space to go and chat, to unwind and to discuss your thoughts and ideas. So there's bits about you that you have to address. So stress is coping with time and pressure is the key thing, because you're trying to manage it all in that sense. You've got the different jobs, you've got the research. And people will have expectation, but you have to think to yourself, like, okay, well, what are my expectations? That's what's important, really.
Right.
Because I think that when you go home to bed, you go to sleep, the things are stuck in your head with your thoughts.
So it's the goals that you've placed for yourself.
Yeah.
What you want to achieve, where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the main reason why you continue to do the PhD and not give it up.
Yeah, because it's about my goal. Where do I see this research? Where do I see actually making a real contribution? The university can basically, fund you and invest in you and back you and support you. But ultimately, when it comes to, I don't know, from my perspective, is that it's about your own contribution. That's what PhD is looking for. What's your own contribution? What is your own sort of addition to knowledge? And how do you really see it? And how are you, really coming up with ways? I mean, supervisor can suggest and university can advise, but actually it's about creativity. And I just thought, no, stick to your own, your own vision.
Yeah.
How do you see it?
I mean, PhD is it's challenging, as you know. And for those who are listening and watching who maybe are considering doing a PhD, how can you negotiate a subject for a PhD? Because it's so broad. The choices that you can study are so vast. How do you narrow it down and choose something that you're happy with? How did you come to your decision?
Sometimes I'm a bit naive. Some people, some people said to me, like a lot of people said to me, advised me, said to me, don't do a PhD, something you want to do it. And I thought to my head, no, you're wrong. I just thought like I'll do a PhD where there's a bit of like funding or there's a bit of opportunity.
Okay.
Because you're looking at means as aspect in that sense, as a means to an end. But essentially, they were right. That you should do something you enjoy it, because I think I'm in my 5th year and actually I actually do enjoy it, thankfully, because it's interested in changing and understanding how change works using theoretical models. But can you imagine if I did something that actually I didn't really enjoy this, and I done it for 5 years, and that became my expertise, because your time is your main asset. Your effort is your sort of quality checker.
So you have to choose a subject that ultimately you have an interest in.
Yeah, it matters to you. What would you like to bring to the table about this particular area? But at the time, I was a bit naive. Like I said, when I was starting off, everyone said the same thing to me, and I thought, no, you're wrong. You're just telling me so I don't go for this position. But actually, they're right. But it only comes, unfortunately, through experience.
Sure.
You just realize, actually, I'm glad I stuck to that. Or
looking back now, would you say you're happy?
Yeah,
how your PhD's gone.
Yes, I mean it's not in the area of mental health, but it's in the area of changing behaviors or understanding behaviors, which the reason when I first started off in 2006, 12 years ago, the reason why I chose psychology, because I wanted to know how is it that we behave the way we do. And the research project, it tells us, well, my PhD research project tells us a lot about the way we behave towards particular activities around, walking or cycling. It doesn't tell us the whole picture, but it tells a picture, and I'm allowed to contribute to it. So it goes back to, 12 years ago. Why did I really want to do something in psychology in the first place?
And being friends with you for such a long time, I know the reasons why you've gone down certain paths in life, and certainly why you study psychology. Why is psychology so important to you? And I know it links very closely to your own experience of growing up.
Yeah.
With your own family. I mean, touch upon that as much as you wish. You don't have to go into it in detail. But I guess I'm just trying to gauge some sort of context as to why psychology is so important to you. And for people watching and listening, a lot of them may go into a subject that they're not really passionate about, and that can have a detrimental impact long term, because you end up graduating from a subject that you don't really have an interest in, and then you kind of let it go after graduation. But with you, you've studied a subject that you care deeply about, which is why you've now started the charity, which we're going to talk about very soon. So just coming back to the psychology, why psychology, and how did it impact you growing up?
So I suppose that's a really good question. And a lot of people ask me that question, and I said to them, look, it's not one or two things. It's a collective
of different things,
of experiences, and I think there's something that because psychology is not something you study in, well, especially in our time in secondary school.
Yeah.
You only come across it later on or post 16.
Sure.
So it was, first of all, it wasn't available at that time,
okay.
I should say, to study at that age. But I think what happened to certain, my family would obviously have a certain health condition, mental health conditions, and this was not similar to people like my friends, other relatives. They didn't have the same experience. But I just thought to myself, why are we doing things differently?
Yeah.
Why is our sort of time spent differently towards my friends?
Your family's time is different.
Yeah. Why were we spending so much time in doctor's appointment, hospital appointments?
Okay,
These guys were at the park. So you start questioning things in that sense, and thinking, is this something that's happened? Is this something that we did, or is it something that we do?
Right.
And I became more interested in, okay, well, how do we sort of stop this from happening? How do we prevent certain things from happening? But for us to do that, we need to understand what the hell is going on for a start. But even like, say my elder brother's condition.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people, he would be picked on because of his not his condition, but it's like he couldn't be able to communicate his emotions, and he would not be connected as such, like other kids. But I just thought to myself, like, he'd spend a lot of time with me, but he would not say a bad thing about these guys. He would not think a bad intention and all this stuff. He wouldn't plan, and he wouldn't try and target other people like the others would.
Okay. So
that question being, so why are they doing that differently? Because to me, he's still my brother, so I don't see the condition.
Right.
Still my brother, and I think to myself, actually, why are they doing differently? Not in a hateful way, just in a more curious way.
Sure.
Because these guys were the same age.
Yeah.
We used to play together in the field or school, whatever, and go to people's houses. So why did people treat him differently? But he would not treat them differently. He would treat them all equally. And so that allowed me to think about, gave me, I suppose, to show that people are different and the way we think about the world is different from that very young experience. Because I'm there sitting next to him. We're talking about 6, 7 years old. Yeah? When you start
very, very young age.
Yeah, when you're starting to, become a bit more aware of the world.
Do you remember that time quite fondly, 6, 7, when you experienced that with your brother?
I'd say it goes back further, probably around the age of 3.
Okay.
In that sense, and we were in, I don't know, we went for holiday in Bangladesh, and he would not calm down. He would not calm down. I think he lost something, like a toy or something, and everyone loses toys, but everyone rationalized, right?
Sure.
But he was like really, really unhappy, throwing a major tantrum, and people thinking, what's going on? What's going on? But I knew that there's something's not right here. In that sense, he's 1 year older than me, and I spent all my time with him. So you develop a sixth sense. You're thinking, no, it's not about the toy. Something a bit more. He's really upset about something other than the toy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know what it was. 3 years old. I don't have a psychology degree.
No, of course. Yeah.
But that was one of the first experiences.
Yeah. So it's certainly something that's been within you for a long time.
Yeah, I'm understanding. I can read. I would like to think that the way we behave, there's a reason for it. And it's not just it's more than the surface.
Sure.
And my brother's example was an eye opener, because no one else could see it, and it's not because of their fault. I think it's because I spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
Naturally, so I could see him on different levels.
So you saw the different signs.
Yeah, and it was more like, okay, it was not that he was just trying to be harmful to another person. I think he was just wanting to find peace. In that sense, and to be at ease and to be at comfort.
And that was his way of showing that?
Yeah. So when other people couldn't understand it, I could see the other side, you see. I could see his point of view. But they couldn't understand it. I'm thinking, so why is my experience different to you, but you're older than me? So you've had more exposure to life and experiences, but still you don't see it in that sense. So you see on different levels. It's not just about, okay, the young people you don't really mind because they're thinking, okay, well, they've spent less time on the earth. They're not going to know. But the older people, you just think to yourself, why is their experience any different than yours? This is very strange. Surely this should be the other way around. They're telling you, no, this is what it is and stuff.
Yeah. Do you think he's quite proud of you now? If he knew everything and what you've gone through and where you are now with the charity? Yeah,
I think if he was... if he had capacity of his own mind, then yeah, I'm sure he'd look back and say, you've helped. I don't know, maybe you've helped try to or facilitate that understanding of people like his condition, so that other people can understand it and not make them judgmental or make them to understand that actually this is quite normal, but it's our sort of attitude that needs to change towards them. And yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy. It's like I said to my mom sometimes, like, look, at the end of the day, we believe in obviously the afterlife.
Yeah.
And just look at it as a way of like, we're measured on how we treat him in this life. This is the thing. And when we all go and stuff, the first thing he will ask for is his family.
Yeah.
The people who are kind to him. That's the first thing he'll ask, probably God. So I said to my mom, this is the way to reconcile and stop trying to change him,
right?
But understand him a bit more. And it goes back to that experience of like 3, 5 years old. If we understand the people a bit more better, I think the anxiety drops. we've become more familiar, we've become a bit more relaxed, we've become more comfortable, and become more confident.
And then the barriers kind of come down.
Yeah, and then you create that whole environment of really trying to understand. Now, when he comes home, what's the word? Is the thing that he looks forward to, because he knows he's in an environment, he's not being judged. He can have what he wants, so he can have his favorite meals, and there's no pressure. He's not aggressive. He's not anxious. It's actually a pleasant experience. My mum and all of us don't have to worry that he's actually in distress. He's so full of like energy and stuff like that. But he's actually just happy to have a conversation.
So he knows he's in an environment where there's ultimate understanding and respect for what he's going through. Right?
EastEnders, believe it or not, is the actual thing that we used to watch as children together because he would not let us change the channel. And now, I think deep down, I know EastEnders is great and stuff like that, but I think deep down now, like, between me and my siblings, we all watch EastEnders just to keep some of the conversation going, because when it comes home, it's the first thing that we talk about. It's the first thing we can connect on, because it's not about us. It's about his interests and about respect. And, it's about on his level to say, look, we see you as an equal. What is your interest? It's not about me, it's about you. But I'm happy to share that with you because so we can have a relationship.
Sure.
Based on, that's actually, that's not biased towards anything. It's a very subjective thing in the middle, as opposed to a bad memory or goal or expectation. It's an object. So I think the other siblings, my sister and my brother, won't admit they watch EastEnders because, but I think there's a reason why that's happened and why we watch EastEnders.
Kind of brings you all together when he visits. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. It's a nice, beautiful story, and it kind of makes sense as to why you are where you are now. Which brings us very nicely onto Our Minds Matter. Firstly, congratulations. I know you've just recently reached 1 year. It was your first year anniversary very recently for the charity. So big congratulations for that. I know you've put a tremendous amount of effort together with your team. Was starting a charity something that you always wanted to do? Because I remember when you first told me about it, I don't remember it ever being in our conversations. Maybe you kept it to yourself, I don't know. But was it something that was always in the back of your mind?
I know. I think it was a different idea. The idea was to bring actually like a health centre where people can, get education, support, understanding, and they come to the centre, like a health centre, and they go away in a different, have a different view or different perception, different understanding. So this whole thing come from like when I was in hospital with family and stuff, it was a centre. I'm thinking, okay, when people are coming in and out, they're coming with one thing and they're leaving with one thing, hopefully in a better state of mind. So the concept was to actually always to do something like that.
Okay.
So the charity thing, it's like, I didn't know what it was, it formed into a charity. It was first, the idea was, this was like really talking about back then, 20, 30 years ago, to start a health centre in the middle of where we are, in the town.
So the idea actually started many years ago, to have a health centre.
Yeah, to let people know actually this is what mental health is, and this is what you can do about it, and this is the kind of like the options that you've got in that sense.
So just a place for people to go to for to share what they're going through, or just for advice?
I think more advice.
Okay.
Because I think, to be honest, it's down to the families and the friends, and it's their responsibility to help that person. You can't have 20,000 people access mental health services. That's just not sustainable. This is not a business.
Sure.
We're a health service. But seeing that from the other side, when I'm the other side, I've been in the mental health services with my brother, with parents, etc., etc. I see what they go through on the other side of the scale. I'm thinking they can't, because they're only human beings.
Sure. So
you need to build a more sustainable environment. And that's what the health centre, sort of the vision was.
Okay.
But it only came about, like I said, in the last few years, the idea of the charity. Because it's been the last year we celebrated, but there was a bit of work before that.
Just before that, okay. What was the effort that went into that? Because if you look from the outside now at the charity, one would think it's been around for many years, but you've managed to grow it in such a small space of time, and I know it's also been recognised as a hub for the Time for Change, or
Time to change.
Time to Change,
Yeah.
which is the national kind of overall campaign for mental health, and Our Minds Matter is now the Luton hub as part of that campaign, right?
Yeah.
So what's the kind of vision now for you with the charity? Because you've been recognised on a national level. What's the next step now after this first year?
Well, I suppose the first thing, a lot of work went in, a lot of foundation. We got about 70 plus volunteers. We got two, started off in Newton, and now this other branch in next to us, Bedford, they've started their own one to go on a similar path. And the Time to Change campaign is basically like, because I've always thought like to myself, look, it's not about me, it's not about my experience or my advice and my thing. It's about who others have gone through and who wants to make that change.
Sure.
And so the Time to Change thing fits perfectly, because Time to Change is all about people who've got lived experience of mental health who come forward to talk about their experience, to change current attitudes. So they're trained in a way to speak to the members of the public,
right,
to bring up a conversation around mental health. And by doing that, you start to destigmatize, the environment, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the schools. The more times you do it, and what their research found is actually if you do this a number of times, it starts to have a positive effect. Mental health starts to become accepted. So I've always thought to myself, look, the charity must use things which are evident, which are proven. Okay, we're dealing with people's health here, and it should not just be about one person or two person or a committee. It's about what really is the vision. So the Time to Change is basically the national, implementing that national campaign, and it's about working with people, just like mental health services 20 years ago, my brother and stuff. It's about listening, sharing, and I think our plan is it's fitting with the national sort of campaign to say, look, we will reduce people's attitudes, negative attitudes, I should say, around mental health. Because if you be on the other end of the scale, if you don't tackle it, like being where our family's been, it's a horrific experience, and you don't want people to go through that. Or you can't guarantee it, but what you can do is reduce the likelihood, by bringing in all these tools and resources.
So say, for example, someone feels that somebody around them, whether it be the family member or colleagues at work, may be going through some sort of mental issue. Do they approach that person themselves, or do they go for help to someone else or an organisation like Our Minds Matter?
Well, the first step would be, if it's in the workplace, for example, there's this thing called, you can go to a mental health first aider. Okay.
A mental health first aider?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is different to Time to Change. So we train people to become first aiders in the workplace, just like physical health. We train people to become how to provide initial support whom someone might be experiencing a mental health issue. If it's in the workplace, imagine you've got 10 first aiders. Your first point of call is there. But hopefully the first aider is able to spot that. This is the idea. Then they're able to listen to you, support you, and signpost you into the right service, because mental health is so broad. You could be anything from depression to anxiety to OCD to psychosis to and it could be caused by all sorts of facts and triggers. And all of us are on a continuum. Everyone has mental health in that sense. But life circumstances, like when they may be made homeless, something's happened to your family member, it can really, really challenge you. It can be, say, increasing your mortgage, saving up the money, that brings on anxiety. Divorce, losing children, bereavement, all these things. So the person has to be supported. First step would be, to your question, would be maybe to go to a first aider in the workplace if they've got one. If not, contact someone like us, because it's not just about us. It's all our partners, Samaritans, Mind, those bigger national...
So all you guys work together for the same cause, which is to, I guess, make mental health a more talkable subject, and then I guess secondly to just be approachable when it comes to the issue.
Our goal is not to hoard people, hold them. You know, that's not us. You know, and that would be very unhealthy. A lot of people do this. You know, this isn't, you know, Apple or Samsung. You know, this is something to do with, you know, actually someone's health. You're basically facilitating them in that sense. You know, it's not like saying we hold them here and you're going to keep them. We're going to make the most out of you. Like, no. But, you know, our arms are open. It's not closed. And we think by working with other health services, because some of us might not have the solution. It might be the other company that has a solution, but we work together. And because it's a national movement that's happening at the moment, mental health, you can see why. Because everyone is committed, and none of us are going to work in isolation. Because everyone's working together. All of us are supporting one another.
When you work in collaboration, it's much stronger, especially for this type of cause.
The best way to explain it, right, is you think about a heart surgeon. Yeah. If you need to a heart transplant, liver transplant, is it just one person working on you? There's tons. There's a whole bunch of experts. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Health services, whether it's faith leaders or you know, local bodies, local authorities. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's how you deliver healthcare. Look at the operating theatre and look at mental health issue.
I guess individual talents, but then those talents sometimes
come together
as well.
Just like driving a car.
Yeah.
You know, working in the workplace, you have your bit to play.
Very interesting.
And that's why I say to the other trustees and the volunteer members, don't worry about the people coming in and taking our role or anything like that. Don't worry about that. We all have a part to play.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's going back to that point, what we said about paying attention to your detail. Your contribution is valuable.
Absolutely. I want to speak to you about an award that you got last year, special recognition, Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant Award. Have I got that right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And I know that award meant a huge amount to you personally. Explain to us the day and how it went and your feelings of receiving the award.
Well, so I suppose I got an email a month before the ceremony at the university that, you know, it was an honours award. And they said, oh, you've been nominated for this award. So I've done some research on it. This is the first time I couldn't do much research on it because this is the first time they've ever created this award.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, so I didn't know what this award was about.
Okay.
It just said, for work contribution to the community and something like that. So I went on to the actual ceremony, and then they were doing the awards right with everyone 5 minutes, 2 minutes actually per person. Then this woman comes up called Helen Nellis. And she's she introduced herself as the Lord Lieutenant. She represented the Queen, and she was talking about this award. There's about 3 nominations for this award, and I was one of them. And I thought never in a chance that, I'd win it. I was just thinking, hang on. She's talking good 20 minutes. I go, okay, this must be important then. Because everyone else is having 1 minute, and she's talking for 20 minutes. And so this is an hour thing.
Yeah.
So she's taken up most of the time talking about this award, what it means, why they've created it, who's it for, why they think they're the deserved winner. So I was thinking, no way. After all of that, that's not going to be me, And then
they call your name.
The whole thing comes up on screen, right? Because they do the drum roll, if you like, the experience, and everyone's waiting in the screen. I'm looking in the screen, and then it just comes up with the name. And for me, I just paused because I was still waiting for the other name to come up.
Your name up on the screen.
Yeah, and people were clapping, but I couldn't hear the clapping because I was still waiting for the name to change to the next name, to the actual winner. Because they come up with the nominations first, and then they come up with the winner.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just thought it was a surreal moment. There's got like hundreds of people.
Totally unexpected.
Yeah, 100 people clapping. I'm sitting at the back of the room, with my program. I was just happy to be there anyway. And then the video came on. The video came on about why they've nominated, why they won it, and possibly congratulations by the I think the panel they decided. So that was a big shock.
I can imagine.
But it was a nice surprise because I think you're so busy.
Yeah.
Doing the work, jobs. You need to get this done. We have to get this conference going. We have to do this. We've got first aid to deliver. We've got to make these changes. We have to destigmatize. Can we do this?
It must have been nice because, as you say, you were so busy doing different things, different roles, managing 4 jobs, doing your PhD, thinking about the charity, and being recognised for your efforts. Not that you did it for recognition,
No,
but
no.
sometimes it's nice to be recognized, especially for such a good cause like
Yeah.
Our Minds Matter.
What's the word? It definitely took me by surprise.
Mm.
The funny thing was the press officers and some of the people in the audience, they knew. So there's me doing the welcome drinks in the initial
And
ceremony.
they know that you're
They know
the
they won
winner.
it. They just handshake me and just talking.
So they've done a
as
great
normal.
job of keeping it from you then.
Yeah, they're like saying we had to keep that from you. We found out ages ago you won it, and in that sense, so it was very hard to keep a straight face with you all that time because you were talking about mental health all the time and what we need to do more. So you were still talking about it. So that was quite funny. I said, I couldn't read your body language in that sense. I wasn't even paying attention.
Right.
So that was another additional shock, because I didn't know what to say in that sense.
How did you then prepare your acceptance speech? You had probably 30 seconds to think about that. And
yeah, I mean, they were taking photographs, and I said one or two sort of words. I think it was more the afterwards because they came and done an interview straight away, the press team.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get your thoughts.
Okay.
How do you feel about this award? And I didn't know what to say. I just said, it's literally it was thank you. Didn't expect this. But I really don't want much more to say. And that was it. Normally I'm quite an articulate person when I have time to think about it. But in that moment I just not froze, but it was more like
because I guess you were so taken aback by the moment. You weren't expecting it.
Yeah, I mean it's when she was giving the whole speech about it. That was the overwhelming bit in that sense. And you had the other video. It wasn't just like here's an award and come in and get off. It's more like a 20 minutes warm up and the video come on, and so it was the whole experience.
So when they showed the video giving the reasons why you won it, do you remember what you were going through at the time?
I was still in shock.
Yeah.
I was thinking, is this so? I go, I can see what they're trying to say. I was trying to pay attention, but I couldn't. I just thought to myself, I didn't get up on that stage.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a very nerve-wracking moment in that sense. So what are they really saying? And the video was only about 2 minutes long, explaining it. But I was happy in a sense. The audience got to know the reason why what we were doing. So I thought it was an opportunity for them to know what it is that we were doing.
And to learn about the charity.
And hopefully the idea is it encourages others to say, look, it's okay, you can study. And the key thing was basically is managing studies and doing lots of different things while launching the charity.
Yeah.
So it was a recognition of all the effort in that sense. But I didn't expect that at all. So it was a pleasant surprise. Normally you get these things or you expect these things after when you're finished. But to get it halfway through, especially when you're being made homeless and all that stuff, because you're busy. You got things to do. You don't got time to sit, man, and admire yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, knowing you for as long as I have, you've got many kind of skills and attributes. But what would you say, if you could highlight one skill that enabled you to receive that award, what do you think that skill would be, in your own opinion? So if you could assess how you've managed things over the years, what got you to that stage?
I don't know. It's if you say one thing, must be people.
People as in people
skills
to support you, or people. So in your interaction with others, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And people, whether it's colleagues, friends, family, because it goes back to the one thing that you interact with and the thing that's making you, I don't know, come alive, and it's the people that you come into contact every day.
Interesting.
Because it's almost like you're listening to them, you're sharing, you're learning from them. They're giving you tips and ideas. They're also disciplining you. When you get things wrong.
You get things wrong, sure.
Of course. So people is the people's skills is the number one thing, because it's the thing that has grown the charity. Why should they come and work with us? Why should they volunteer hours and hours? They've got lives and jobs of their own.
So do you think people skills is paramount if you want to be a top performer?
Yes. I think playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
Okay. So people skills mean just sometimes when you're expected to do something, right, in terms of like performance. I think that imagine like you're your managers, your employers expecting something of you, great, right? So managing the expectations there, but exceed those expectations in that sense, but without telling them about it. I did this for you, by the way. You owe me this. You don't need to do any of that. But that comes down to people skills as well. Paying attention to your own skills without actually having the need to boast about it, because the quality and stuff shows through your work in that sense. And the key thing that you measured on, I think, is your quality of work, but how do you come across to others?
Right.
And that's the people skills in that element. You don't need to talk to someone to show them what you can do. If you do the work, just by doing that example of hoovering behind the washing machines, pulling it out, getting all the dust out, getting the cobwebs out, putting a nice sticker on, polishing it up.
Yeah. There's often doing the things that people won't necessarily see.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Goes back to that stock check.
The details, being meticulous, which is what we discussed at the beginning. If people are looking to enhance their people skills, paying more attention to detail, I think we both agreed these are key if you want to be a top performer in the workplace, regardless of which industry. What first step can people take to get better at these skills? So people skills and being meticulous.
Yeah, I'd say the two go in hand in hand. So when you're working, I think, in an environment, people skills would come down to listening. What it is that your employer is looking for.
Okay.
It's not what he's saying. What are they doing? What are they trying to achieve here? When they come into work, what are they expecting you? So listening to people, listening to non-body language is very important.
Okay.
Paying attention to that.
When you say non-body language, what do you mean?
Non-communication language.
Okay.
It's like body language.
Right. Okay.
Facial expressions.
Uh-huh.
In that sense.
Can it be quite difficult to learn body language?
I think but this is where it comes down to your own growth. You have to learn. Go on a course.
Okay.
You can't be expected to know when you come off from school and college, going to workplace, expect to know about body language. We know the art of body language has been studied for hundreds of years.
Sure.
So it can go into a lot of depth.
So would you say one has to study body language, or can it be learned over time, say over 10 years of working as an employer? Can it be learned, or do you have to specifically go to a course?
I think from your experience, because I've done both.
Yeah.
Of learning and working at the same time through education and working. Okay. That's something obviously I'd recommend in that sense, because you have to see it in practice.
Sure.
But I think it doesn't have to be just about say body language. It can be just feedback.
Okay.
What are people trying to tell you about your work? Negative feedback, customer feedback. Where can you improve? Look for things where you can improve on. Where can I get it right next time?
Okay.
The constructive feedback. How can I do it better? In that sense, Sure. So when my members are delivering charity projects, I don't want them to be spoon-fed. I don't have time for that in that sense.
Right.
Because I don't think I'm not trying to hoard them in that sense. Yeah. This is your idea. What do you want to do? Be as creative and ambitious and imaginative and innovative as you want, because it's good for you. It's good for your home well-being in that sense. What do you see? I am the same as you in terms of equal partner. I might be chair, whatever. I might have X, Y, and Z. You might have X, Y, and Z. But me and you are the same. We're human beings trying to achieve something here. So what do you want to achieve? I can help you by connecting you. I'm giving you certain resources. But this is about you when you come into workplace and when you come into the organization. What do you want to achieve, isn't it, when you go home? Yeah. Are you happy with your level of performance? Are you happy with what you've delivered today? Because I think when you look back on it, you want to just look back and say, you know what, I contributed to this, I did this, you have happy memories. And I think you build your own character and people want to talk to you. You just find all these things. As opposed to come in, let me go and do some filing, I can't be bothered,
Yeah. It's about attitude, isn't it? When you walk into a workplace, you can either settle for and be happy with average. And would you agree that you will certainly go home feeling average if you put in an average performance?
Yeah.
You get out what you put in.
Right? Yes.
And then it just becomes another job. And you just do it for a pay packet, which I guess is never enough.
Yeah, that's why with the charity we focus on why do the people come in to the charity? I can get enough volunteers. It's not a problem.
Purpose.
Yeah, you didn't come here to hoover. I'll do the hoovering. Yeah, I'll clean the toilets. I tell them, don't worry about the toilets. Yeah, Don't worry about the filing. Don't worry about, all these little tasks you might think actually. But if you really want to do filing and sort a filing system out, what can you bring? Bring some quality to it in that sense. But what is important to you? I try to find out when we do the interviews and stuff. Why do you want to spend 4 or 5 hours in our charity? You could spend it anywhere else. Why ask? What would you like to bring? So trying to get to the nitty gritty in that sense. They don't come here all the way just to do something else for someone else. They come here to grow themselves when you come to the workplace, especially when you're volunteering in that sense.
And I guess to grow in a workplace, you have to be prepared to be the best.
Yeah, strive for, putting in 100%. It's good for you. It's not just good for the company economically. I think it's good for your own growth, your mental health.
Absolutely.
Feel more confidence, self-esteem.
Yeah.
Dopamine is released, serotonin is released. Good for your immune system. It's a collective thing. You look at Cristiano Ronaldo in the football world. This guy, when he came into this, in the first place in the footballing world, he was awful. But he put so much effort in training, and now look at him. He's one of the most humble football players you've ever seen.
But the best.
Yeah, and everyone wants to aspire to him. And he's created that environment.
Like him.
Yes.
And he becomes a likable character, a likable person.
Yeah.
Because he does things very detailed.
And he wasn't polished.
Best,
yeah. He wasn't polished when he first came in. He was doing a lot of things that was not working. But he kept trying and trying, kept doing step overs. But he kept falling apart. And I'm a Liverpool fan. And he's a Man United player. So, you joined in the banter, right? But you just saw this thing. You just started appreciating. Actually, you know what? Yeah, he deserves a lot of respect because no matter how much stick he got, he kept
still
falling.
A great footballer.
Yeah.
And he never gave up.
He practiced and he practiced and he just did it and he did it 100%. When you see his run, he's got this run up to the free kick. He's got that sort of focus, that attitude. I'm going to do my best every time I kick the ball. And that's what I mean about the workplace with the volunteers. Come with that sort of drive and, you'll get lots further. For yourself, forget the company, the position. That'll come naturally. That stuff comes naturally. But I think into you when you go home, you just feel that actually, I feel good today.
Yeah.
And I want to do it again tomorrow. And tomorrow after that and tomorrow after that.
I want to speak to you and get your opinion on something related to performance at work. And a lot of people strive for a bigger paycheck, a promotion, so they get more money. And from my experience of being an employee for 12 years, I always tried not to do it for the promotion, the bigger paycheck. But I know a lot of people find it difficult to do that because ultimately it's about getting that monthly pay and paying your bills. What advice can you give to people who want to kind of shy away from always focusing on the money and focus more on their job? From your experience, how did you negotiate that? From separating the money aspect to your job to your efforts in the workplace?
Well, I think people around you is another influence. I go back to the people thing. Because people say to you, you should be getting this, you should be getting that, you should be doing that. I think you have to be very mindful. I remember in the first workplace, as an apprentice, I was only getting paid £30 a week. And I was working 40 hours, if not more. And my colleagues then started saying to me, you should be getting more, you should be getting more. But it didn't mind me. I was just grateful for the learning experience. I was just happy to be. And I think you have to make your own sort of call and be aware of like, okay. But I didn't ask. I actually just basically did my job and I went the extra mile. They just gave me pay rises through the level of, I suppose, results and performance.
Yeah. And you're right, promotion is a byproduct of your hard work.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I was just happy to go and do a job I was just happy to go home and be grateful in that sense. But they kept giving me the raises and the promotions. Well, the promotion was key. And, they gave me a lot of confidence to say, actually, I was doing the right thing in that sense. So I think let your work do that work for you, because if you don't, because the thing is, you don't end up in a promotion when someone doesn't want you. That would be disaster. That's one of the things I say, well, if someone's not giving you the promotion, don't worry about it. Because why would you want to work with someone who doesn't want to be in their team? Yeah. And that's not something they got something personal. They might have someone else in mind. But I think when you're working at a high level, promotion stuff, you want to be working with people who want to work with you.
Yeah.
So the priorities would be, you shouldn't sacrifice or compromise on your quality, because there'll come a point, wow, yeah, we want to work with this guy. We need him in our team. He's fantastic. There'll come a point, in that sense. You don't just want to work high promotion for anybody.
Yeah.
But I think while you're there, keep on delivering the quality. So when the opportunity comes,
you're ready to take it.
It's not much effort. It's your norm.
Yeah.
It's not much hard work. It's what you do, and it's who you are. And I think it's a reflection or your mark of your character. I think I've seen so many people. What happens is they get a bit of promotion, then they start putting the effort in, and they struggle, and then they get down, and suddenly there's all this politics going on. But if they just put in the effort
from the beginning,
being consistent, it would have been a natural progression. But I think it's a culture shock. Oh my God, the expectation is high. This is too much. I've been chilling out all this time.
Yeah. Do you think there's a fear with a lot of people? And if so, what is that fear when it comes to going beyond the norm?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's the fear being what we call being ripped off. We don't be mugged off when we work for companies. I think we're influenced by lots of examples, experiences. We just think, why do I want to bust my gut for this company? They're just going to take the mickey out of me, after 6 months, and they're going to take something off me. So it is that feeling of anxiety of like they're going to be giving away something for nothing.
So are you saying it's the feeling of, why should I give my everything for someone else, for someone else's profits? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, basic.
Like, if I'm not going to benefit financially from giving more, why should I do it?
Yeah, psychologically speaking, it comes down to what we call, learning and conditioning. When we learn something, we base some things on reward. So, like, I think what they call Pavlov's classical conditioning.
Right.
The classic experiment was like, when the dog heard the bell, he associated food with it. So every time the dog owner would, play the bell, the dog would instinct food. He'd expect the food to come.
So he'd do the action for the reward.
Yeah. So there is this thing which we can learn, which can be healthy, but are also unhealthy. So that's what
I think that can be quite detrimental to one's own progress in the workplace.
Yes.
If they're only doing it for reward.
Yeah.
I think it makes a huge difference if you flip that thinking and think of reward as in your own.
Yeah.
Your own progression is your reward.
But you have to learn that.
Is that hard to learn? How does one learn that skill?
Yeah, I mean, there's another one, like another experiment Skinner done with the cats.
Right.
Okay, or I think it's called the rat experiment for the cats. So every time they hit the lever, they'd expect food.
Okay.
And suddenly the rats were hitting the buzzer, but the food wasn't coming. So they dissociate. There's disinhibition in that sense. So they're unlearned. That's what they call operant conditioning.
Sure.
So you can change it, yes. You've got the classical conditioning with the dog and the bell, and you've got the cat with the paw. And I think that tells us a lot about why people might work extra hard, expect this, because we've learned that behavior. But I think you have to go through a sort of unlearning process to start disassociating that, to say, every time I do the work, I'm going to get a reward. No, don't expect that. But there might be something.
There might be something.
Yeah, but you don't know when. No.
Yeah.
I think that's a far more healthier way of approaching work, because when you get promoted, you want to make sure that it's worth it in the end. You don't want to just get promotion for the sake of it. It has to be that what you want.
You want to be ready.
Yeah, and you have the skills, the confidence, the experience, the consistency, so you stay there longer. It's much more sustainable.
And I guess you only get to that point if you're willing to graft.
Yes.
Every day at work.
Yeah, and believe in your abilities.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself in that sense. I think if I gave up 16, 17, working on £30 a week, we would not be where we are with, all this stuff and where we are today. You have to believe in the ability to get there. Be patient with yourself. And your reward might not come in the 10 years. It might come in the last 20 years.
But it will come.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that as well. Hard work always pays off. It may not happen in the first year, 2 years, or even 5 years, but eventually you get to see some reward.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all in a monetary sense, but certainly in your own progression as an individual, because you learn from all your experiences, right?
Yeah, and when you're going through that experience, enjoy to learn your mistakes. Because no one's looking at you really,
True.
because you're making mistakes. So you can really, really push yourself. What you don't want to do is like, don't push yourself, then suddenly get to the top, then suddenly make mistakes. Then you'll be like, then that would affect your confidence. So it's good to put in the effort now and make as mistakes as much as possible, because it's the best time you learn. Hence why a lot of people go for experienced people towards the end. I always thought, why don't they go for young people? But now I realize, actually, no, there's a reason why, because they've been through a journey, a process, they've learned their ways, and now they're the right people to put in those positions. There's a rationale behind it in that sense.
Absolutely. I want to give everyone a chance to get to know more about Our Minds Matter, which is of course a charity that you founded. You're doing some tremendous work. You're also quite heavy on YouTube. Tell us about Mental Health Talk.
Yes, I mean, we at the AGM, at the charity's AGM, we discussed what our plans are for the year. And last year we went to the Mental Health First Aid anniversary.
Okay.
And the CEO, Poppy Zaman, she said, "What more can we do to educate people around mental health?" She asked everyone. There's about 500 people that come. Yeah. Different organisations and etc.
Okay.
And so I went back to the AGM and I asked the same question: what more can we do? And one of the members suggested that, why don't you, they gave me a task and said, why don't you do more awareness raising sort of, literature.
Okay.
I said, I haven't got time to do all this writing because I'm doing my research project.
Sure.
So why don't you do videos? Educate people around what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Why is mental health, who might listen to you. So the Mental Health Talk is actually a series of conversations around just mental health.
Okay.
They're sometimes a 2-minute clip, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Depends what people are.
So that's on YouTube. If people want to search for that, what do they type in?
It's called, if they type in Mental Health Talk.
Mental Health Talk in YouTube.
And
it will come up.
It should come up, and you'll see my image around it, and we talk on different topics. Key thing is for us to keep going. We want people to subscribe, to keep us, I suppose...
keep you going. Yeah.
Yeah, keep us all motivated to say actually people are listening. Most importantly, comment if you think it's useful. But some people have already done this already. But what's useful is ask for requests. I could do requests if it's a particular area.
So request about something they want you to speak about.
Yeah, about mental health issue or how to manage this situation, how to do this. And if 9 times out of 10, I'll try to do the job. But that one time, I might refer it to someone else. Okay.
I've had a look at those videos myself, and I've been very impressed. The subjects that you talk about are very powerful. So yeah, definitely go to your YouTube channel. People will benefit, I'm sure. And also very quickly, I know Our Minds Matter is also on social media. How can people find you?
Yes, we're on, I think the most busiest, we've got Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I think they've got a different audience.
Yeah.
But if they type in the at Minds Matter GB for all 3 accounts.
Minds Matter GB.
Yeah.
Okay, so he'll come up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yes.
And they can connect with you guys there. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Did you want to mention your personal Twitter, or do you prefer not to? I'll leave that up to you.
I'd say you're best off finding off the
Minds Matter is the best one.
Is the best one. It's the best place to start.
Okay. And they may find you through there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, Jolel, this has been an amazing chat. I think this is the first time that we've ever done this in our 17 years of friendship. We've had talks, but not in this depth. So it's been amazing getting to know the details of your experience and your life. And congratulations once again for Our Minds Matter. Wish you all the best with that. And I'm sure we'll see you again on social media.
Yes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you, buddy. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into that episode. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jolel Miah. Feel free to like, comment below, and if you'd like to hear similar conversations, feel free to subscribe, and I will catch you again very soon. Take care.